Hello, and welcome to
Papi Approved Movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every other week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching Kindergarten Cop.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
All right, Nat, how you doing?
Good.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Kindergarten Cop. Kindergarten Cop came out in 1990 with a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. It's streaming on Tubi. Tubi's been our go-to jam, huh?
Yeah, it's practically our favorite streaming site at this point.
I know.
At Tubi, sponsor us.
Tubi, yeah, let us know when you want to.
Maybe give us some water bottles.
Water bottles, t-shirts, Tubi, yeah, Tubi.com or Tubi whatever you are, .net.
At Tubi.
I don't know, whatever. It was written by Murray Salem, Herschel Weingrod, and Timothy Harris, and directed by Ivan Reitman. Main stars are Arnold Schwarzenegger, Penelope Ann Miller, and Pamela Reed. Fun facts, Mrs. Anderson, our principal, tells me that I remind her of this movie since I teach kindergarten. But I definitely don't use a whistle in the class.
That's a strategy for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll try it out on Monday. So what do you think, Nat?
I liked it a lot.
You did? You enjoyed it?
I thought it was funny.
It was funny. And goofy and silly.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you like about it?
I liked the main guy, how he slowly got better at his job.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger is like the number one major action star for the 80s and 90s.
He was a little bit scary though. Yeah.
He was a Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia bodybuilder for many years in a row. And then he started making movies. And one of his first big hits, Terminator, which is an amazingly good movie. And they've had 4 or 5 Terminators since. But I like the first one. People love the second one. They say it's the perfect action movie. But I'm a bigger fan of the first one.
The kids are also very silly.
And cute. There's a couple of scenes in there, which we'll go over, where they just let the kids be themselves. They didn't have scripts. They just kind of talked. And they said things that regular kindergartners would say. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So how many stars do you give it?
I give it 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars? All right. I liked it too. I watched it again. Didn't think I would like it as much because, it's dated and old and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I know you'll talk about at the end, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny too. And I loved all his preparation for fire drills.
All the sit-ups and the calisthenics and all that.
Yeah.
Those kids were working hard.
I think it's kind of funny to see how serious they are about the fire drills and how they're we're supposed to tell you where to go, but I don't feel like doing that today, so just know to go to the basketball court situation now that I'm in high school.
Oh, in real fire drills at school?
Yeah.
That's funny. Here they took it seriously. It was serious business at
this
Astoria.
This is serious.
Yeah, we had our first fire drill, but I took the kids out early because it's kind of loud. And I'm worried that the kids would start screaming, so.
Yeah. I really liked how in the story that the principal wasn't really the villain. She was just kind of cranky at the beginning, but she didn't become the villain. She didn't try to use anything against him when he hit that one guy, which is spoilers, but
Yeah.
He hits some guy later on, and then she doesn't hold it against him or anything. And she, actually sees his improvement and takes it. Whereas I feel a lot of other movies would, vilify her and be oh, she's the boss, she's terrible. Like
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Obviously the principal's the villain there.
Yeah.
She did not like him. She didn't think it was a good idea for having a police officer there. But all she cared about was her students.
Yeah,
and their safety.
And that's all she cared about. She wasn't she was grumpy or whatever, but it was a good reason for her to be angry.
Right, she was strict, but it was for the reason to protect the children.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can't blame her for that. That's what a principal should do, right?
So I thought she was a well-written character. I was a little worried that they were going to be oh no, he's going to do one thing wrong and then she's going to try to blow everything up into flames. But she didn't. She was understanding.
Yeah, she even complimented him saying that he was a good teacher later on, so it was nice.
So why don't we get into the recap?
Okay. Movie begins with a cop named Kimball tailing a drug dealer named Crisp. Crisp is meeting up with Danny, who knows some information about the whereabouts of his ex-wife Rachel and their son. We find out that they took off with millions of dollars. After Danny tells him that Rachel's in Astoria, Crisp kills him. Danny's girlfriend, Cindy, was hiding and saw the whole thing. Kimball gets there too late and finds Cindy and Danny's body. He handcuffs her to Danny and goes after Crisp.
That's awful. That's so traumatizing.
Unfortunately, Crisp gets away. So
imagine being handcuffed to a dead body.
The dead body of your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone that you love. Like you can't get away from it. Oh my gosh. And he just got shot, so he's bleeding out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's pretty awful.
Pretty awful, yeah. I think that whole scene, or that part, and then the next scene is kind of the same. Kimball's not a nice guy. He's a tough guy. He's this kind of cop who's gonna,
he just does whatever.
Does whatever he wants to get his man, kind of thing. So, at the police station, Phoebe, Kimball's partner, tries to get Cindy to help find Danny's killer. She's having none of it and leaves. Later that night, Kimball goes into the drug house where Cindy is staying, guns blazing. He tells her that he won't leave her side until she helps find Danny's killer. This
was also kind of creepy.
She agrees, and the next day she identifies Crisp as the killer, and he's arrested. That's what I was saying. You want to prove that this guy is a no-nonsense killer cop. Him walking into this one place and just shooting everybody with his shotgun.
Yeah, but he also was super creepy.
Why?
Because he's like, I've taken a liking to you. We're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, he was just harassing her, right?
Yeah.
That's true. Kimball and Phoebe are both going to Astoria to find Rachel and her son. They find out from Cindy that they're there. Phoebe will go undercover as a kindergarten teacher at Astoria Elementary School. Unfortunately, she gets very ill with a stomach flu and throws up the entire night.
I'm assuming that there's more than one kindergarten class, so how are they sure that they're in the right one?
I don't think there is. I think there's only one.
It's a small elementary school?
Yeah, because there's only one first grade teacher. So, although it's not even elementary school, because there's like teenagers there.
Yeah.
You know, in the fire drill, like those two kids were making out?
Oh, yeah. I think it's like a K through 8.
Maybe? Yeah. I don't know. It looks like there's only one kindergarten teacher. And that room is huge. I don't know what kind of school has that kind of room.
Yeah.
2 floors. Beautiful. A kindergarten classroom would be nice if I had it, with all those toys and sleeping areas and stuff. Anyways.
Why do you mean your classroom's amazing?
Yeah, I like it.
Especially with your freshly organized kitchen.
That's true. I like that kitchen. It was organized by none other than Natalie. And Sophia, but Natalie was the one that took charge. Phoebe's still sick the next morning, so Kimball has to go undercover instead of her. He meets with Mrs. Schlowski, the principal, who's not happy with the entire situation. She walks him to class and introduces him to the kids.
See, this anger is reasonable, especially since you've been told, like, oh, it's a teacher. She was the teacher before. And then someone that is... First of all, I would be uneasy if there was a cop coming in to teach students. But they're like, oh, but she's a teacher before. And I'll be like, okay, that's a little bit better. Then some scary man with a gun in his pocket walks in and is like, she got sick, so I'm taking their place. Haha. I would be like, no, get out. What are you doing?
Well, she asked if he had teaching experience, and he lied. Although he did like one of those fake lies, like he didn't say yes or no. He said they wouldn't send me if I didn't. But he didn't have teaching experience. Only Phoebe did.
Yeah.
So he didn't have it, but he lied that he kind of did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And then what cop has teaching experience? Like, how does that work? It's like, how many teachers have cop experience? Like, only very few, you know what I mean? Like, she was a teacher first and then she became a police officer?
Yeah, that's what she said. She teaches like 3rd grade or something.
Yeah, but then, how often does that happen?
Well, you get too tired of teaching that you become a cop.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what do you think the percentage of people, I mean, like 1 in like 700,000? I mean, it can't be much. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's a gigantic
I think that's
force.
Everyone. Literally everyone is a teacher.
Every
That's a requirement.
Yeah, it's to be a police officer. Yeah, maybe. When Mrs. Schlowski leaves him there, it becomes mayhem. The children are screaming and going wild. Kimball's lost and he asks Joyce, the first grade teacher, for some help. He can't take it anymore and he tells everyone to shut up. And they start crying. Yeah, I think that's what would happen if I told the kids to shut up. The day ends and one of his students, Dominic, tells him he did a really bad job. Nah, Dominic is Joyce's son. Kimball gets home and he passes out.
If I hated children that much and they made such a mess like they did, then I would also be traumatized.
Yeah.
I'd probably go home and cry, though.
Many teachers go home and cry all the time. So, and they're professional teachers, so I don't blame them. The next day, Kimball is the talk of all the mothers. They think that he's gay because he is a kindergarten teacher. He meets a mother who is worried about her son, Sylvester. She tells him that she's divorced, and Kimball starts to think that maybe she's Rachel. When she reveals her ex married another man, Kimball knows it's not her. At school, it's more of the same. Kimball has the kids tell him what their dads do for a living, so he can find out who Crisp's son is. Dominic tells everyone his dad is in France, and another student, Zach, is withdrawn and doesn't want to participate. So this is one of those scenes where the kids, they were allowed to say whatever they want, and those were real answers. My mom says my dad does nothing all day, or those are like real answers that those kids.
Really? Because one of them is in the not made today, so I figured it was like something that was not real.
Well, I mean, 1990 people did different things, so you know what I mean. This is 33 years ago, so yeah.
That's so silly.
When the fire alarm goes off at school, the kids go crazy. They're running and don't line up. When they finally get outside, Miss Schlowski is very upset that they took so long.
I've always thought the whole situation of everyone line up calmly and make no noise is so unrealistic, because I feel like everyone would be screaming if there was a real fire. Or like people would be jumping out of windows and stuff. Like no one would try to peacefully get into a line.
I think you're not going to see the fire. The fire is going to be on one side of the school that most of the kids are not going to see. So let's say at our school, let's say the fire was at the kitchen. My kids would never see that fire.
That's true.
Anyways, Miss Schlowski is very upset that they took too long and that they were a mess. At the end of the day, Kimball tries to talk to Zach's mom, but she takes off on him. He begins to suspect that she is part of the Crisp's family. That night, Phoebe's feeling better, and she and Kimball go out to eat. He sees Joyce and Dominic, and they all eat together. Phoebe pretends to be his sister because she recognizes that he is attracted to her. Walking home, Phoebe tells him that he's letting the kids run all over him, that he needs to act like a cop. Show no fear.
I think that was also something that made me happy, because I was going to be like, oh, this is going to be a misunderstanding. That's going to be annoying. But then she's like, I'm his sister, which is like...
like she's going to think that she is a love interest?
Yeah. And then that was going to be like annoying misunderstanding. And then I'm going to be like, oh.
I have a question for you at the end of the movie. I thought that was an awkward situation between the two of them. Let me see what you think about it. Yeah, I don't think so. She was cool about it. She pretended to be her sister, and then that way he can make his move on Joyce. You know? Yeah. The next morning, Kimball comes in and starts using his whistle to control the class. It works. And then he tells them he's going to whip them into shape. The training montage begins. He has them do exercise drills, calisthenics, and marching and beat. He even starts practicing lining up for the fire drill, and the kids are on it. Even Mrs. Slowski is impressed. At the end of the day, he reads them a story and everyone falls asleep, including him. Joyce comes in and invites him over for dinner. Yeah, that would be bad if Mrs. Anderson walked in and found me sleeping with the kids, all sleeping.
It's nap time for everyone.
Yeah, he was so exhausted he fell asleep. At school, Kimball finally talks to Zach's mother. We find out that her husband has been physically abusing them both. She begs him to not tell anyone. He tells her that if it happens again, he's going to press charges. Now he knows that Zach isn't Crisp's son.
I know that abuse is a lot deeper than just that, but in my mind I was a little confused because I was like, why would she not want him to tell someone or like get help for this kid? Like, wouldn't you want to keep your kid safe no matter what?
You know, the saddest thing is that that's kind of a cycle of abuse, that people think that the people apologize, they go to counseling, I'm getting better, I'll never do it again. And abused people usually believe that. And unfortunately are stuck in this cycle of abuse they can't get out of. I hate this scene for two big reasons, right? He's a police officer.
Yes.
He knows that this child and this wife are being abused, and he does nothing about it. Like, he could have had Phoebe or called, like, the local police department and picked this guy up. Like, they should have gone to jail. He's a police officer. He's not going to, and he promised not to say anything.
And why? And what reason do you have to not say anything?
Right.
You can only have this child be in more pain for longer.
Right, and that's what ends up happening because the kids get to be born.
Of course.
Yeah, and so I hate that because the police officer is not going to let a child or a wife be abused. And then a second thing, a teacher would never allow it because by law we're mandated reporters, so we have to report that immediately if we have any suspect of abuse. So I guess he's not a teacher, so I know he doesn't know those rules.
But he's a cop.
But he's a police officer. He should know it. So I hated the fact that he allowed that kid to get beat some more just because she begged him not to say anything.
And I don't believe that him not doing anything was any bit necessary to the story.
No. He could have went over to that guy's house like immediately and just beat on him, like which later he does.
Yeah, and then it would have like proved to the principal. It would have been the exact same, just without like a bad lesson. Right.
Or he finds out right then. This whole scene is, it's kind of silly. That's why it's not even an important part of the story, but I wanted to talk about that because I didn't like that at all. All right. On date night, Kimball and Joyce have a really nice time. They really connect, and Joyce tells him that Dominic's father is not really in France, and that they ran away from him. He now suspects that Joyce is Rachel. Phoebe doubts that Joyce is Rachel because they checked her books and her bank accounts, and they were all empty. There's no money. Back at school, Kimball's helping the kids get ready for the school fair. Joyce and him are definitely dating. Zach comes in late with a hurt back. Kimball catches up to his dad and slugs him. He's about to beat him some more, but realizes that parents are watching him. Later, Mrs. Schlowski tells him that she's very proud of the teacher he has become and asks how did it feel to punch that guy.
I think it's so sad because, like, he's... What was he doing? Like a name tag or something for the kid and then, like, sees the bruises.
He just kind of, like, put his hand on the kid's back to, like, kind of scoot him in the room.
Oh, and then, like, he was like, ow. Like,
he's like, ow. And then he went out there to beat the dude.
And the fact that the, like, poor little kid had to, like, lie and say, like, oh, I fell off my bike or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's just so sad.
Mm-hmm. You know, and then
like,
the other thing...
You know he was told to lie about that, and then he had to listen.
Yeah. And he was going to just beat him down, but then everybody was looking at him, like, with this fear, right? Because he's a kindergarten teacher. Yeah. He can't just start punching on parents. So. Although I think everybody would have been okay with it. Back in LA, Crisp's mother pays a drug dealer to give Cindy some bad drugs. She consequently dies, and Crisp gets out of jail. Crisp and his mother are now on their way to Astoria to find Dominic. At the fair, Phoebe talks to Kimball and tells him they need to get Joyce to turn herself in. They confront Joyce, and she tells him that there's no money. That was just a lie, for that way everybody can look for her, and that she's going to take off again. That night, Kimball goes to Joyce. She tells him that she is angry he lied to her. He professes their love, and they make out. Nice timing, right? They're just going to make out right now, in the middle of all this drama. The next morning, Phoebe comes into the kindergarten class and does a lesson about stranger danger. Crisp is also at the school, looking around for his son, and then freaks out when he sees Kimball in the middle of the kindergarten class. Crisp gets a bright idea to start a fire in the library, and the fire alarm goes off and the kids spring into action. I also didn't like this. Why couldn't he just pull an alarm?
Yeah. You didn't have to set the whole school on fire. Also, you're putting your own child that this is all for in danger.
Right, that kid could have burned down his own son.
Yeah.
He could have just pulled the alarm and then everyone would have ran out. So
I guess to like sprinklers and like to get the whole works.
I guess.
But I'm like, you're putting your own kid in danger.
You know, we should be in that writing room, right? Like, hey guys, I think what we're going to do is he's going to start a fire. I'm like, why didn't he just pull an alarm? Yeah, good idea. Like, right? They could have, at that point, they would have been like, yeah, we don't have to do pyrotechnics. We don't have to do smoke. There's kids and children with smoke. That's dangerous.
No water.
Yeah. Let's get rid of all of that. No water. Oh my gosh, that would have saved everything.
Budget cuts, guys.
Budget cuts, yeah. When the fire alarm goes off, the kids spring into action. Everyone knows what to do, and Dom gets the class pet, which happens to be Kimball's ferret. We haven't talked about the ferret because he wasn't important until now. In the madness,
he was just a silly little goofy guy.
He's just a chilling ferret.
Also, I think it's so funny that he just brought a ferret to this classroom and just like put him on the shelf and be like, "Here's your ferret, guys."
And he flew. So did he put him in a suitcase? Did he have the ferret on the plane?
Because he doesn't seem like a guy who would check in his pet ferret.
I don't think so. And then he has it in the back. There's no cage. He just had it in the back seat. The only reason we see it is because Phoebe goes back there because she's sick.
But there's a little cage in the classroom for the ferret.
There's a cage in the classroom, yeah.
Yeah, but like you can see in the training montages, like he trains one of the children to grab the ferret. Like that's a part of the training.
It's Dominic. Dominic's the one in charge of the ferret.
There's always someone in charge of his ferret.
Yeah.
And it's so silly because he's this like tough and like hard guy, and then he like loves his little pet ferret, and he doesn't even like show him loving his ferret. He's just there. Anyway,
so everybody goes into action. It's pandemonium. In the madness, Crisp abducts Tom, and they hide in one of the classrooms. Both Kimball and Phoebe go into the burning school to find Dom. Before Phoebe gets in, Crisp's mother hits her with a car and knocks her out.
I was like, wow.
Kimball finally catches up with Crisp. He holds Dominic hostage, and Kimball has to put his weapon down. Then the ferret bites Crisp in the neck. In the beginning of the movie, he says he doesn't bite anybody, and then this ferret bites that guy in the neck.
Yeah, I feel like everyone was starting to forget about the ferret, but I was like, when is he gonna bite this man? Because like the whole time, it shows him like squirming around in the sleeve,
right.
And like I'm like, how does anyone think that it's gonna be a whole little plot twist that this ferret comes out and bites him? I was waiting for it to happen. I was like, when is this gonna happen? This isn't no plot twist.
The ferret was there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Kimball goes for his gun and kills Chris, but not before getting shot in the leg. Then Chris's mother comes in and shoots Kimball in the shoulder. She has him dead to rights when Phoebe shows up and knocks her out with a baseball bat.
Did she like stop off at the PE room?
Well, they were in the locker room, so there's probably equipment in there. After a quick stint in the hospital, Kimball comes back to school. Michalowski takes him back to his class, and the kids all cheer and hug him. He kisses Joyce, and the kids cheer even louder. The end. So, could this movie still be made today?
Not sure. Well, I feel like the premise could be made today. Actually?
Yeah, it's going to be a stretch.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Part of the fact that it was so controversial is that it was a guy kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't have very many guy kindergarten teachers. Yeah, so I think right now there are more.
I'm sure there was barely any guy teachers in general at that school.
Yeah, there's probably none. So what are some things that you think would need to be changed today?
I think Kimball, at the beginning when she was like kind of low-key harassing that one girl, sure. Which I really thought he was creepy. No, because he was like, we're going to spend a lot of time with each other. And she like starts crying. And then like they show like the next scene. And then like she tells everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then like while that scene was happening, which that whole scene is a little bit questionable.
Harassment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he tells her like a classy girl shouldn't use foul language. And I'm like, sir, please stop speaking. Like your whole language right now is concerning.
Right. Exactly.
And then I feel like he also like kind of food shamed Phoebe, which was like so random and unnecessary. Like it was just a running joke that he would like food shame her.
Because she was eating like a bunch of garbage, right?
Yeah, like he'd say, I've never seen someone so little eat so much. Or like someone would be like, breakfast to her, and then she'd be like, no. And then he'd be like, that's a first. And like stuff like that. Yeah. And she literally said in the show like, oh, I have a medical condition doing with like iron or something. I don't know what it was. Yeah. But it was like a whole medical condition. And like it was just a joke the entire time that he was like food shaming her. And I was like, why is this even in here?
What else?
The whole male K teacher thing, that's a thing.
Oh,
where they were like,
gay?
Oh yeah, like, oh, you must be gay. My dad is not gay.
Alright, anything else?
The whole thing about the little kid.
This is probably the worst thing that I heard. Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, he's like, I'm worried for my kid. He's playing with dolls. What is a doll targeted for a guy? An action figure.
Sure.
Guys,
G.I. Joe or He-Man.
Guys play with dolls all the time. They're just not called dolls. They're called action figures. But like there's specific brand, or I think even like a Transformer is considered a doll, in my opinion.
Right.
So I think that's just stupid, first of all.
Okay.
And then second of all, Kimball comforts the woman and it's like, oh, you don't even have to worry about it. He's using that to look up girls' skirts. I'm like, why is that a comforting thing? Why is she making a sigh of relief now? Like, I really don't understand.
So
and he's also a kindergartner. Like, what has gotten into him?
Her joy is the fact that kid is not gay, but a pervert instead. Like, she prefers that.
Like, that's so terrible.
A little perv versus him being gay. And I thought that was hilarious in the fact that it's really inappropriate now.
And then also the whole thing where he's like, I'm worried about my kid because my husband left me and went for another man. I think that was kind of stupid. That whole scene was like so terrible. I'm still pressed about the whole dolls thing. Like, guys play with dolls. There's dolls targeted at boys specifically.
But that boy wasn't playing with Transformers. He was playing with Barbies. That was the thing. It wasn't like he was playing with dolls like action figures. He was grabbing Barbies and looking up their skirt.
Oh, no. And that also doesn't make sense. How does that even work?
I guess the fact that he's looking up a girl's skirt is good in the fact that he still likes girls.
I guess so.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the point of it. Like, that means he likes girls. He just wants to check out their privates. I don't know.
They're
no
Barbie underpants.
Yeah. Which the privates for a Barbie is the same as a Ken, right? They don't have privates, so.
Oh, I was thinking, okay, I was confused. I thought he was like playing with the dolls and like looking down at them and then like looking up his classmates' skirts while like sitting on the floor and playing with dolls.
No, I thought he was looking up the doll skirts.
Oh, what? That makes no sense. I guess neither of them really makes sense.
And how she was so relieved by it. Like, thank God he's not gay kind of situation, which is obviously inappropriate.
Anyways, I'm pressed. It was stupid. I dislike it.
Yeah, I get that.
And then also, one of the things that the little kids said when they were introducing themselves, they were like, my dad repairs cars crashed by pinhead girls.
Oh, so that's real.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's why I'm saying this is even worse.
So that
means that kid's dad said that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, my dad does this. No, it's like, my dad said he... Like,
yeah,
like she was just repeating what the dad had said.
Right.
And she's a girl. So the dad said this to his small little daughter.
Well, maybe he's teaching her not to be a pinhead girl that knows how to drive. Like, when you get old enough, I'm going to teach you how to drive.
But if he's like a repairman, I'm sure he's repairing all types of cars.
Yeah, of course.
Like he's just being annoying. What is the reason for this?
Yeah, I read that all of that was real. That they let the kids just answer, so they didn't have to memorize those lines. They just say whatever the answer is going to be, and then they recorded.
They took the funniest ones, probably.
Yeah, probably the funniest. All right, anything else about Not Being Made today?
No.
Does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
So many conversations between characters. All right, let's go over it. The Bechdel test is a test that checks for female representation in film. There are 3 criteria. Criteria number 1, are there 2 named female characters?
C. Phoebe and
Joyce.
And then some of the moms from the kids.
And Cindy, the girl from the beginning. All right, criteria number 2, do they ever talk to each other?
Joyce talks to Phoebe.
Mm-hmm. And Phoebe talks to Cindy. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Criteria number 3, they talk about anything other than a man.
No.
All right, so it doesn't pass the Bechdel test, even though I think it does. All right. Anything else about the Bechdel test or anything?
Nope.
Did you think of me when I was in there?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Just because I'm buff and so handsome, maybe?
I'm not sure about that.
All right, well, thank you for tuning in to Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app, or like our podcast on YouTube.
We put out an episode every Monday.
If you want to see extra podcast content, follow our TikTok at Papi Approved Movies.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestion. And remember, it has to be PG-13.
Next week, Sophia will be back and we'll be watching Good Will Hunting.
And I'll be back in 2 weeks to watch The Mummy.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye.